Evan Cole moved slowly through the crowded trade station. Ships from many worlds sat docked, their engines humming softly. The air smelled of metal, oil, and a faint scent of strange spices. Most people moved quickly, focused on their own business, and avoided eye contact. Some merchants shouted about their goods, while guards walked past with serious faces, keeping an eye on anyone who seemed suspicious. Evan liked to watch people. Even if he had little to buy or sell, it helped him pass the time while he waited for his next shipment job. As he walked, his eyes fell on a small figure struggling near one of the docking bays. A woman, unlike any Evan had seen before, was trying to lift a heavy crate onto a transport vehicle. Her skin had a soft, bluish tint, and her eyes shone silver in the bright lights of the station. Her cloak was dark, and her movements were graceful, yet tired. She paused often, breathing hard, clearly exhausted. Several station workers walked past, pretending not to notice. Evan felt a small twinge in his chest. Something about the way she moved made him want to help. He shook his head slightly. Normally, he did not interfere in other people's problems, but this time felt different. Evan approached her carefully. "Hey, do you need some help?" he asked. His voice was calm, not too loud, not too soft. The woman froze, her eyes flicking to his. She seemed surprised. I don't think anyone has asked me that before," she said in a gentle voice. The words were accented, but he understood them clearly. She looked at him for a long moment. Then, she nodded slightly. "If you wish," she said. "It is heavy for me." Evan smiled. "No problem. Let's see what we can do together." He lifted one side of the crate carefully, noticing that it was lighter than it looked once someone helped him. The woman joined him, gripping the other end. They moved the crate slowly, taking care not to bump it into the walls of the transport. Evan could feel her strength. It was more than it looked, but she had been overworking herself. He guessed she had been struggling for a while. Once the crate was inside the vehicle, he wiped his hands on his pants. "There you go. Good as new." She looked at the crate, and then at him. A small smile appeared on her lips. "You did not ask for payment," she said. There was no suspicion in her voice, only curiosity. Evan shook his head. "I'm not that kind of person. I just saw someone who needed help." He felt a little embarrassed under her gaze. It was unusual for someone to look at him so openly, especially an alien. She tilted her head, studying him. He noticed that she had markings on her hands, faint lines that glowed slightly under the light. They reminded him of something like jewelry, but they were part of her skin. "Your people, do you often help strangers without reason?" she asked softly. Evan thought for a moment. "Not often. But sometimes, yes. If it feels right." He shrugged. "I don't expect anything back. That's the point." She nodded slowly, as if she were learning something new. "Perhaps humans are different," she said. "I have met many who only think of themselves. Few pause to see the need of another." Her voice was calm, but Evan felt something in it. An unspoken loneliness. They walked to the side of the station where her transport was parked. Evan helped check the engine, noticing a small problem with the cooling system. It was nothing serious, but without attention, it could cause trouble later. He opened the panel and started working. While he did, she watched him quietly. She did not speak much, only asking a few questions about his life, his ship, and where he had traveled. Evan answered openly, talking about his home planet and the places he had seen. "You have seen much," she said finally. "Yet you remain simple in your choices. You could charge for help, or use this as a way to gain favor. Yet you do neither." Evan laughed lightly. "I don't want to be caught in politics or money schemes." I just want to do the right thing when I can. Life is complicated enough without making it harder for myself. The woman nodded again, her silver eyes thoughtful. Evan worked quickly, using tools he had carried with him. She helped when needed, handing him the right instruments or holding parts steady. They moved in a rhythm, not speaking much, but working together naturally. Evan felt a sense of ease he had not felt in a long time. Normally, strangers made him nervous, especially alien nobles or wealthy traders. But she did not seem like the kind to look down on him. Finally, after a while, he closed the engine panel. All done. Should run fine now, he said, stepping back. The woman examined it carefully, then smiled again. Thank you, she said. You have done more than repair the transport. You have shown respect. Evan raised an eyebrow. Respect? For what? She hesitated, then shook her head. For me. For helping without expectation. Many would see me as someone important, or dangerous. They would avoid me, or try to gain from me. Evan looked at her, puzzled. Important? Dangerous? He did not understand what she meant. She smiled faintly, almost like a secret. It is not something you need to know now. Perhaps in time, it will be clear. For now, I only wish to say, thank you. Evan shrugged. Well, you're welcome. Just glad I could help. He felt a small sense of pride, though he tried to hide it. The woman adjusted her cloak and looked around the station. Evan noticed that other people were staring at her from a distance. Some were whispering. A few guards seemed tense, but she ignored them, as if she were used to attention. Evan did not yet know why. Will you be traveling far? He asked. She nodded. I will go to the inner sectors. I have matters to attend. She hesitated, then asked, And you? Where are you going? Back to the outer rim. Some work, some deliveries, he said. Nothing exciting, really. Sometimes, simple lives are the most honest. Evan smiled. He liked the way she said that. It felt like she understood something important. They stood quietly for a moment, listening to the sounds of the station. Ships lifted off, engines thrummed, and voices echoed through the halls. Evan felt that he wanted to say something more, but he did not know what. The woman seemed to sense it. She took a step back and said softly, Perhaps we will meet again. Evan nodded. Maybe. Take care of yourself. He watched as she climbed into her transport, her movements graceful even as she settled herself in. She started the engines, and the vehicle hummed to life. The glow of her eyes lingered in his memory as the transport lifted off the station and disappeared among the other ships. As he turned to leave, Evan felt a strange emptiness. It was unusual for him to feel anything so strongly about a stranger, especially one he had just met. He walked slowly through the station, noticing how the crowd seemed louder, busier, and more chaotic. Yet he kept thinking of her the way she had watched him, the quiet respect in her eyes, and the gentle smile that had appeared when he finished the repairs. Unknown to Evan, several people had been watching from the shadows. Station workers, merchants, and even a few low-ranking nobles had whispered among themselves. Did you see that human? One said. He helped the queen. Another shook their head. No one dares approach her. How did he manage that? Evan, unaware, walked past them, whistling softly. By the time he returned to his small quarters, he was still thinking about the encounter. He could not stop wondering who she really was, why she had been traveling alone, and why she had accepted his help without suspicion. For someone with such grace and presence, it was unusual to see her so vulnerable. He wondered if any other humans would ever get the chance to meet her in the same way. He sat at his table, took out a small datapad, and began writing a report for his next job. Yet his mind wandered back to her. Even when he tried to focus, he kept imagining her silver eyes, the faint glow of her skin, and the quiet gratitude she had shown him. He did not know it yet, but this small act of kindness would change both their lives in ways he could not yet imagine. As night fell over the station, the lights dimmed slightly, and the hum of the ships softened. Evan leaned back in his chair, smiling faintly. Helping someone had felt good, simple, and right. He did not know her true identity, the wealth she controlled, or the power she wielded. He only knew he had done the right thing. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, the alien woman looked down from her transport window and whispered his name. A small smile on her lips. She would not forget the human who had helped her when she had seemed like just another traveler in need. The next morning, Evan woke to the same routine sounds of the station. Engines, humming, merchants shouting, and travelers moving quickly through the halls. He rubbed his eyes and stretched, thinking about the alien woman he had helped yesterday. He could not shake the memory of her silver eyes and the calm way she had accepted his help. Something about her felt important, though he did not yet understand why. As he ate a small breakfast from a food stall, a sudden announcement echoed through the station. All personnel and visitors, please remain calm. The royal cruiser Solara has docked. Queen Lyra of the Solari Dominion is aboard. Maintain distance and follow security protocols. Evan froze. He had never heard of the Solari Dominion. He looked around at the crowd, noticing how people suddenly moved with careful precision. Merchants lowered their voices. Guards straightened and checked their weapons. Some travelers bowed slightly. A strange tension filled the air. Curious, he pushed through the crowd, trying to get a better view. A massive ship hovered just above the station dock. Its hull gleamed in the station lights, and faint energy pulses ran along the sides. Guards moved like shadows, their armor shining. The ship's presence was commanding. Everyone seemed small and careful around it. Evan's heart skipped a beat when he saw her cloaked again, but her posture different. She carried herself with a confidence that filled the dock. When her hood fell back slightly, her silver eyes met his. He stumbled backward slightly, unsure if she had noticed him. To his surprise, she walked directly toward him, ignoring the crowd. The guard stepped aside, forming a clear path. The murmurs of the station grew quiet. "Human," she said softly, stopping in front of him. Her voice was calm but firm, commanding attention. "You were the one who helped me yesterday." Evan nodded, unable to speak at first. She studied him for a long moment, her eyes thoughtful. Then, she smiled faintly. Few show kindness without expectation. "I remember such gestures. I will not forget yours." She gestured for him to follow her. "Come with me. We will speak in private." Confused, Evan followed her through the docking halls. Guards flanked them silently, but they did not speak unless commanded. The way she walked made him feel small and unimportant, yet strangely safe. Finally, they arrived at a private chamber aboard the ship. The walls were smooth, glowing softly with light that seemed alive. Floating panels displayed stars, ships, and distant planets. She motioned for him to sit, and he did so carefully, trying not to touch anything. "You do not know who I am," she said, her tone gentle but serious. "I am Queen Lyra of the Solari Dominion. This ship is my royal cruiser. Many fear me, and few dare approach. Yet you helped me as a stranger. You did not know my status, my wealth, or my influence. That is rare." Evan's eyes widened. "Queen? Wait. You're royalty?" He could barely believe it. "I didn't even know you were important." Lyra's silver eyes shone faintly. "Most see only my power. Few see me as a person. Yet you did. You saw someone in need, and you acted. That is why I wanted to speak with you." She paused. "I wish to invite you to visit my flagship, beyond this station. You will see much of my world, and perhaps understand why your actions matter. Evan hesitated. The idea of visiting a queen's ship, let alone one as powerful as hers, was overwhelming. But something in her gaze told him she trusted him. I don't know if I should. I'm just a delivery pilot. I don't belong in places like that. She smiled faintly. Belonging is not about status. It is about choice. You chose to help without fear. That makes you different. That is enough. He nodded slowly, feeling both nervous and excited. The journey to her flagship was unlike anything he had experienced. Small ships moved through corridors of space, and the view of distant stars and nebulae filled his eyes. He watched silently as Lyra gave simple commands to her crew. Everyone listened, without question. She was not loud, not angry, but her presence demanded respect. Evan realized quickly why many feared her. Not because she threatened them, but because she held power quietly, completely, and with authority. When they arrived at the flagship, Evan's jaw dropped. The ship was enormous, almost like a city in space. Lights sparkled along towers and decks. Garden areas floated in midair, filled with plants from countless worlds. Crystals glowed softly, casting colorful reflections across the walls. He had never seen anything like it. Lyra walked beside him as he explored. "This is my home," she said simply. "Many worlds have given me their treasures. But it is not the wealth that matters. It is responsibility. Power without wisdom is dangerous." Evan nodded, still taking in the incredible sights. "I've never seen anything like this. Or anyone like you. Most people I meet are only concerned about themselves." She looked at him, her silver eyes thoughtful. "Many are afraid of me. They see only wealth, not who I am. You see the person. That is why I wanted to bring you here." They reached a chamber with a large, glowing vault. Evan stepped closer, his eyes wide as he saw treasures piled in every corner. Rare metals that glimmered like liquid, jewels that shone like tiny suns, and ancient artifacts from lost civilizations. Lyra opened the vault further, letting him see the full extent. "These are the gifts of countless worlds," she explained. "But they are meaningless if trust and kindness do not exist." Evan felt overwhelmed. "I can't even imagine owning this much, or knowing so many people depend on you." She nodded. "It is not easy. Many try to deceive, manipulate, or control me. Few act with honesty. You are one of them. That is why I brought you here. I want to see the world through your eyes, even for a short time." They walked through more parts of the ship. The gardens, the observation decks, and rooms filled with advanced technology. Everywhere he looked, Evan felt amazed. He had traveled through many stations and worlds, but this was beyond anything he had known. And yet, Lyra never acted arrogant or proud. She spoke quietly, explaining things simply, as if sharing knowledge rather than showing off. After some time, they sat in a quiet observation chamber. Stars and planets drifted past outside the window. Evan asked, "Why me? Why would you care what I think or do?" Lyra's gaze was steady. "Because humans can be honest in ways other species are not. You act without expectation. You help without fear. That is a quality I rarely see. It is rare, but valuable." Evan was humbled. I try to do what is right. That's all." She smiled faintly. "Sometimes, that is more important than wealth or power. I have riches beyond your imagination. But a gesture like yours, that is priceless." Before he could respond, alarms sounded. A red light flashed across the room, and a calm but urgent voice announced a system alert. "Intruders detected in the docking bay. Security breach." Lyra stood immediately. "Stay here," she instructed. Guards moved quickly through the hallways, and she joined them, her cloak flowing behind her. Evan followed, unsure if he should, but curiosity and concern pushed him forward. They arrived at the docking bay to find a group of masked intruders trying to board another section of the ship. They carried weapons and were clearly prepared to steal or damage something. The guards moved to block them, but Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm yet commanding. "Leave this place. You will not succeed." The intruders hesitated, clearly taken aback by her authority. In a sudden, clever move, Evan saw a control panel nearby. Remembering his skills, he ran to it and disabled the outer door, preventing the intruders from advancing further. Lyra noticed and smiled faintly. Quick thinking, human. Together, they watched as the intruders retreated, realizing their plan had failed. Guards secured the area, and the alarm ended. Evan felt his heart racing. He had never been involved in anything like this before. Lyra turned to him. "You did well. Not only did you help me before, but now you helped protect my ship and people." She nodded. "That is exactly why you are valuable. You do not seek reward. You act for what is right. Many of my allies would have hesitated or used this situation for personal gain. You acted honestly." Evan realized then that his simple decision to help her yesterday had led to something much greater than he had imagined. He was no longer just a delivery pilot at a trade station. He had entered a world of immense wealth, power, and responsibility. And he had done so simply by showing kindness. That night, as the ship traveled deeper into space, Evan sat in a quiet room, looking out at the stars. Lyra joined him, sitting silently for a while. Neither spoke, but the silence was comfortable. He felt a strange connection to her, not because of her power, but because she had trusted him. He realized that the universe was larger, more complex, and more beautiful than he had ever known. And he understood something important. Sometimes, small acts of kindness could change the course of one's life in ways unimaginable. Evan woke early the next day to the gentle hum of the flagship. He stretched and looked around the cabin, still amazed at the room's size and quiet comfort. A large window showed the stars slowly moving past, distant planets glowing softly. He still could not believe he had been invited aboard the ship, let alone trusted by someone like Queen Lyra. When he entered the main hall, Lyra was waiting. She stood near the observation deck, looking out at the vast stretches of space. "Good morning, Evan," she said softly. "Today, I will show you more of the Solari Dominion. You will see not just my wealth, but the responsibilities it brings." Evan nodded. I'm ready. I want to understand." She smiled faintly, then motioned for him to follow. Guards and crew moved quietly around them, maintaining order without interrupting. They entered a corridor filled with windows showing the endless expanse of space. Evan noticed other ships in formation nearby, smaller vessels that seemed to respond instantly to commands from the flagship. Lyra explained that these ships protected trade routes, distant colonies, and important diplomatic missions. "Most rulers have armies and money," she said. "But if you cannot protect what is valuable, it is meaningless. Strength, loyalty, and honesty matter more than gold or jewels." Evan listened carefully. He realized that Lyra's power was not just about her riches. It was about respect and trust. People followed her because they believed in her, not because they feared her alone. He wondered how many humans could ever reach that level of influence. They entered a chamber filled with holographic displays. "These are the worlds under my protection. Each planet has its own culture, its own people, its own rules. My role is to ensure stability, trade, and safety. It is not simple. It is constant work." Evan studied the projections. He could see glowing lines marking trade routes, small fleets moving between planets, and areas where conflicts had been resolved. "This is incredible," he said quietly. "I never imagined one person could manage all this." Lyra shook her head. "I do not manage it alone. I have advisors, leaders, and allies. Yet the final decisions rest with me. That is why trust is so important. Even a small mistake can have consequences across light years." As they moved through another corridor, Evan noticed rooms filled with training facilities, laboratories, and workshops. Engineers worked on ships, scientists studied strange materials, and soldiers trained in zero-gravity arenas. Lyra explained that every part of the ship was designed to maintain the Empire's strength. Evan asked, "Does all of this wealth, all of this power, ever feel overwhelming?" She looked at him, her silver eyes calm but reflective. "At times, but the responsibility is also a purpose. Without it, wealth is empty. Power without direction is dangerous. I have learned to balance both." They walked into a chamber that seemed like a museum. Shelves and cases held artifacts from countless worlds. Ancient weapons, rare metals, and glowing crystals. Evan stepped closer to a small artifact that looked like a carved stone, its edges shining faintly. "These are treasures?" he asked. "They are more than treasures," Lyra explained. "They are history, knowledge, and culture. Some of these objects have survived thousands of years. They remind us of who we were and what we must protect." Evan nodded slowly. He realized that wealth and power were only one part of her life. The true value lay in responsibility, courage, and care. After exploring the museum, Lyra led him to a quiet garden within the ship. Floating plants hung in mid-air, and soft water flowed through small streams, glowing faintly with energy. The room smelled sweet, like flowers he had never known. Lyra gestured for him to sit on a bench. "You see," she said, "power and wealth can isolate people. Few can truly trust anyone. I brought you here because you are different. You act without fear, without desire for reward. That is why you are valuable." Evan felt a mix of pride and disbelief. "I'm not special. I just try to do what is right." She smiled softly. "That is the special part. Most people do not. Many act for themselves, or for fear, or for gain. You do not. That is why I want to learn more about humans from you." They spoke for hours, sharing stories of distant worlds, human colonies, and the challenges of leadership. Evan explained the simple life of delivery pilots, the struggles to survive in dangerous sectors, and how humans valued honesty and courage. Lyra listened, fascinated by his perspective. She asked questions, curious about decisions that seemed simple but held deeper meaning. Later, alarms sounded again. Red lights flashed, and a calm voice announced, "Unauthorized activity detected in the lower docks." Security teams responding. Evan tensed. He had barely recovered from yesterday's intrusion. Lyra noticed his concern. "Stay calm," she said. "This is routine. My crew handles such situations daily." They moved quickly to the observation deck, where he saw small ships attempting to dock without authorization. Some carried weapons. Lyra gestured for her security officers to intercept, and the ships were quickly blocked. "They are greedy and desperate," she explained. "Many try to test my defenses. Few succeed." Evan watched in awe as her team moved like a single organism. Every officer knew exactly what to do. He remembered how he had helped her before, and he felt a strange sense of pride that a human could understand the importance of quick action and calm judgment. After the situation ended, Lyra turned to him. "You acted well yesterday, and your presence here today is a reminder of why trust matters. Even one honest person can change outcomes." Evan felt humbled. I just want to help, that's all. I don't think about rewards or glory." She nodded. That is exactly why you are rare. Many think only of themselves. You think of others. That is why I brought you here. To see the world as it should be, not as it often is. As the day continued, Lyra showed Evan the engineering decks. Massive engines hummed with energy, controlled by computers and humans working together. Small repairs were done constantly to keep the ship moving safely. Engineers explained their work to Evan, who asked questions eagerly. Even simple adjustments fascinated him. Next, they visited a room where data from hundreds of planets streamed in. Maps, population counts, and resource information filled glowing panels. Lyra explained the importance of this data, predicting conflicts, planning trade, and helping worlds in need. Knowledge is power, she said, but only if used wisely. Many misuse what they know for greed. That is why honesty is so rare and precious. Evan nodded, absorbing every detail. He realized that Lyra's life was not just about riches or power. It was about responsibility, decisions, and protecting countless lives. Her empire depended not only on her wealth, but on her judgment, courage, and trust in others. Later, they went to a chamber where soldiers trained. Zero-gravity arenas allowed them to practice fighting and strategy. Evan watched, fascinated by the skill and coordination. Lyra explained that every soldier was selected for loyalty and discipline, not just strength. Even the strongest cannot succeed without honor and trust, she said. Evan thought about his own life, where humans often relied on courage, trust, and teamwork to survive dangerous jobs. He saw a connection between his simple choices and the Empire's vast operations. One person's honesty could ripple through countless lives. As night fell aboard the flagship, Evan sat in a quiet room, reflecting on the day. He had seen incredible wealth, advanced technology, and immense power. Yet he understood now that the true value lay in courage, responsibility, and honesty. He felt honored to witness it, and he began to see why Lyra had chosen to trust him. Lyra joined him quietly. They watched distant stars drift by, their light soft and calming. "You understand now," she said softly, "why simple choices matter. Even in a galaxy filled with wealth and power, courage, honesty, and kindness can change everything." Evan nodded slowly. "I think I do. I never thought my small actions could matter so much." "They do," she replied. "And that is why you are here. To see that the galaxy is larger than any one of us, and yet even one honest person can make a difference." He realized then that his life had changed. Helping her with the transport yesterday had started a journey he never imagined. Now he was part of something larger, something important. He was no longer just a delivery pilot. He was a witness, and perhaps a participant, in the workings of a powerful empire. And he had done it simply by acting with honesty and courage. As they sat quietly, the hum of the flagship surrounding them, Evan understood that his journey had only just begun. He felt both nervous and excited for what lay ahead, and he knew, without a doubt, that he would continue to act with honesty, no matter the challenges, because that simple choice had already brought him farther than he could ever have imagined.